Oh no.
I'm helpless when I'm ocean away.
Hello and welcome back to my channel. This week I'm going to be judging A Court of Thorns and Roses that I had to read on the Kindle version, which is the inferior version of a paper book. So this was all in all an awful experience. Let's get into the summary, shall we? This book was set in a medieval time where humans and fairies live separated by this wall and hate each other because of this weird war that happened a long time ago. Fairies are like magical beings that have a lot of power and kind of hold that absolute power over humans. Our main protagonist is named Feyre, and she lives with her two sisters and father, all of whom are absolutely useless, so she has to do all of the hunting, etc. to keep them alive. One day, while hunting, she kills a wolf in the forest that she thinks is a fairy. Then she gets captured by another fairy, so she has to pay for what she did. So now she goes and lives with that fairy. It is a sort of a retelling of Beauty and the Beast, which is interesting. So we will now be getting into the non-spoiler review. So if you have not read the book and are planning on it, then you will not be spoiled. As for the writing and pacing, it was just bad. There were several lines that I don't know how they got past editing. I don't know what happened in between. The pacing and overall plot didn't make any logical sense. There were many plot holes, motivations for the characters were skewed and changed constantly to whatever the story demanded at the time. The majority of the book is filler and unnecessary exposition that is delivered in these huge info dumps that are so boring to read. The author would always repeat obvious and boring details that I did not want to read for paragraphs and paragraphs. I will give examples in the spoiler section because I don't want to spoil you. Good lord, the use of ellipses and dashes in this book. At one point I counted 11 dashes on one page. Oh my goodness. There were also just flagrant problematic plot points that I was like, how? The relationships were poorly written and based on nothing. There was no build-up, no trust established. We need to be told they're in love and like we need to see them kiss in order to be like, okay, so they are together. The world building, particularly for the human world, is just kind of weird. Like there are a couple details that I was like, what? And we spend forever on a long info dump on the fairy world that we learn not much from. The world building for the fairy world wasn't the best, but it wasn't the worst. Feyre, our main protagonist, doesn't make any decisions like a normal person at all. She is so illogical and boring, and like imagine a very bad Katniss. Katniss, but with no character, no brain, no motivations that make sense, just nothing. She's got the same family, she's a hunter, she gets sent to a different world, but she's just boring. Like, she's just hardly a character. They try and paint her as, like, headstrong, but their version of headstrong just means, like, not listening to anyone's advice, no matter how logical it is. And I only really sort of cared about two characters. So I rated this book 1 out of 5 stars. We will now be getting into the spoiler section, so if you are somehow still wanting to read this book, click away now. So the fact that the foundation of this book is Beauty and the Beast makes for just a very problematic foundation because there's always going to be that power dynamic. Particularly what I'm talking about is between the Belle character and the Beast character, aka Feyre and Tamlin. It's just not gonna be good. They try and get rid of the creepy, like, you're my prisoner, but we're still gonna be in love by being like, oh, Feyre, you can leave if you want to. Like, go anywhere in the fairy world that you want. Be careful of those monsters, though, that lurk anywhere other than the estate and will kill you in, like, 0.2 seconds. But you can go anywhere. You can go anywhere. But, of course, don't go back to your crappy family. Like, we have to get rid of all the financial support and stuff we gave them. And, you know, you'll have to go back to being poor and really depressed. But, no. You're free. You're free. I would never have a prisoner. Ever. I would die for prisoners, okay? My name is Tamlin, and my father liked prisoners, and I'm so against prisoners, okay? You're free. What? Why are you sad. Oh my god, I hate that so much. You can't have a real relationship built on trust and mutual honesty if one person is imprisoned and one person is the imprisoner. And the narrative just doesn't recognize that at all. We all know that the Belle character has to fall in love with a talking animal, and just how weird that is. They get rid of that though by having everyone have this like mask on their face, because like Amarantha, the evil sorceress lady, cursed them while they were in a masquerade, and so now they have masks, whatever. So she's not falling in love with a literal animal. But wait, because Tamlin can shapeshift. So part of the time he's this bear creature, but also the fact that the Beauty and the Beast story, like the main theme is beauty is not on the outside, it's on the inside. And by having Belle fall in love with this beast that's really ugly, but the thing is, we get to know how hot Tamlin is. And I swear to God, if I have to read one more sentence where they describe his corded legs and it derails the whole Beauty and the Beast theme. Why is it a Beauty and the Beast story if it's not even gonna stick to the main theme? So we are now getting into the uncomfortable quotes with Lorelai. The cereal told you nothing important, did it? That was Tamlin speaking. This is now Farrah speaking. He also said that you liked being brushed, and if I'm a clever girl, I might train you with treats. Context for this next one. They're going swimming, and Farrah was like, yeah, I don't know about this, and Tamlin was like, come on, so she was like, alright, let's go skinny dipping. Slowly. So slowly. His eyes rode down, then up, as if he were studying every inch, every curve of me. And even though I wore my ivory underthings, that gaze stripped me bare. So Tamlin wrote some god-awful poetry for Farrah. Are you ready to hear this? Because I wasn't. There once was a lady most beautiful, spirited, if a little unusual. Her friends were few, but how the men did cue. But to all she gave a refusal. Her friends were few, guys! And she was like so into this too. I was like, okay. I think this one's probably one of the worst ones though. My own bowels turned watery with fear and shame as he wet himself at the sight of Rhysand. At this point, we are when she's trying to solve that riddle, and there's like the 3 levers she can choose, one of which is the right answer. So she's like, since she's illiterate, like literally illiterate, so she has to choose randomly one of these levers. And so this was a quote taken from that scene. 2. 2 was a lucky number, because that was like Tamlin and me. Just 2 people. 1 had to be bad, because 1 was like Amarantha, or the Adder, solitary beings. 1 was a nasty number, and 3 was too much. It was 3 sisters crammed into a tiny cottage, hating each other until they choked on it, until it poisoned them. Like, girl, Lucian's about to die. Like, get it together. Oh my god. This is how she makes her decisions. Like, she goes, 2. It's like Tamlin and me. Okay, so this was when Rhysand came to her cell and she was like crying because like, you know, bad situation, right? I could do nothing as his mouth met my cheek and he licked away a tear. When I read that, I think I threw up a little in my mouth. That was disgusting. This one isn't necessarily gross, but it was stolen directly from the Hunger Games. I had to swallow hard as a few of them touched their fingers to their lips and then extended their hands to me. A gesture for the fallen. A farewell to the honored dead. Like, that's directly from Hunger Games. You cannot convince me otherwise. So Farrah, as a character, is not good. She starts off with an awful life where she has to hunt and do everything for her father and 2 sisters who are completely useless and do nothing at all. And she does this because of a vow she made to her mom, who she hates. And for some reason, she feels obligated to keep this vow. And I'm like, why? You hate everything about the situation? Why are you so obligated to like follow through? It's established that she resents her family and would rather leave them. Like, she fantasized, she's like, oh, I wish I could leave, but no, my mom, she made me swear this vow when I was like 8. So why does she miss her family when she's imprisoned at Tamlin's estate? I genuinely don't understand, because it's not like her vow is being messed with. He's literally taking care of them, and he's been like, hey, I'm taking care of your family, they're in financial stability, they're living comfortable lives. And she's like, I miss my horrible sisters who would always be so mean to me and steal the little money that I had. And oh, I miss my father who would always just carve wood instead of like actually doing anything to help me. I miss them so much. Gosh, I really hate living in this really nice estate with rolling hills where I can pursue my passion for art. Man, this really sucks. I wish I was starving in the cold. Wish we could go back. What are you thinking? She sort of questions why he spared her, but like when he makes attempts to be nice of her, she's not like, well, that's weird, I guess. I only killed and skinned a fairy. And this wasn't just any fairy, this was their friend. And she's not like even a little bit questioning why he's trying to compliment her and trying to be nice. She's not like, what's going on? She's just like, oh, he's kind of a weird person, but whatever, I guess. That makes sense. And this is what I mean when I say Feyre's the stupidest person. Also, her relationship with Tamlin is based off of literally nothing. We might have some idea of whether or not their personalities were compatible if either of them had some sort of a personality, which they don't, so that's tough. There's no building of any relationship either. It's just, she goes from, oh, maybe he's not a murderous, disgusting fairy, to let's go skinny dipping. Also, not to mention the fact that Tamlin is 500 plus years old and Feyre is 19. I am concerned whenever there's like an immortal being that's being paired with a normal young person. That was a choice. This narrative doesn't even acknowledge it. She's just like, wow, that's really old, and then moves along with her day. She has to literally get drunk to kiss him. That's how bad it is. Also, literally everyone was telling her to stay inside for like the weird fire festival or whatever, and she didn't. Like, are you kidding me? Yeah, I know all of these fairies like know better than me about this world, but you know what? I'm a strong, headstrong woman. I'm gonna go out to the fire festival if I want to. That being said, it's not her fault that Tamlin went crazy, because he can, like, you know, make his own decisions and control himself, and it has nothing to do with her, but she was still very stupid, and I don't like her. So Tamlin was extremely problematic. You remember that one time he stalked her, and she was just like, huh, LOL. Isn't that quirky? The entire fire festival thing was just like a complete mess. It's supposed to renew the magical energy or like whatever. Pretty much Tamlin has to connect with some primal energy. You know, there's a lot of females at this party, and every single time they call a guy or a girl male or female, it makes me go, ugh. So he has to pick a girl to renew the energy with her. Once he chooses that girl, the girl really can't back out because he's like going bonkers on like the primal energy and is like, you know, and they're like, yeah, well, they choose to be here, and it's like, well, that's not okay, man. So, you know, Feyre decides to go out on this, and no one explains to her what this festival is because plot, you know? So Feyre gets out like an absolute buffoon, and luckily Lucien founds her before anything serious happens, and he's like, get out of here because this is what the festival is about, and she's like, oh shoot. So she goes back in. Later, she goes out to get a midnight snack. Like, homegirl literally just wanted a cookie, and she walks past Tamlin. This man grabs her, pins her against the wall. She's like, let go. But his claws like embed themselves into the wall or something, because when he gets like angry, his claws like go. And then he proceeds to tell her exactly what he would do to her given the chance. And I was like, the wind is loud. And the thing is, the narrative isn't like Feyre was like, oh shoot, what's going on? I'm scared. She was like, wow, he looks so hot right now. Oh my gosh. The narrative just does not realize how creepy this is. It's like, yeah, this is romantic. This is great. This is what all healthy relationships look like. And I'm like, oh no. And then he bites her and leaves a big old bruise on her neck. The next morning, she's like, going to cover it up, and then she's like, no, Tamlin did this, so he gets to see what he did, because you know what? It's his fault. And I'm like, yes. She goes downstairs. Lucian's like, what is that, Tamlin? Because, you know, Lucian's like a decent person. This man Tamlin, this is what he says. So, if Feyre cannot be bothered to listen to orders, then I can't be held accountable for the consequences. I want to die. And this is treated in the book as a little flirtatious moment between Feyre and Tamlin. And Feyre's literally like, the Tamlin I knew is returned. It made me happy. And he does apologize, but it doesn't like mention it. I imagine he would say like, sorry for like offending you or whatever. It's just like, we apologized at dinner. We apologized. What does Feyre have to apologize for? I'm sorry, what? Then during the whole trials, he does absolutely nothing. It's excused as like, he doesn't want to let Amarantha know that which torture affects him the most, and it's like, she's gonna torture her regardless. This just adds a little variety into the torture. Like, that's all you're doing, man. You could at least provide her comfort because she's gonna die. She'd be like confessing her love and being like, Tamlin, I love you and I know I'm gonna die, but you know what? I had to come here and tell you I loved you. And he's sitting on his throne like, this man sat there like a rock the whole time. Before the trials, he sends her away so that she doesn't get hurt. And she's like, I want to fight for you, Tamlin. Which I was like, that's a stupid decision, but she should be able to choose if she wants to fight, and Tamlin shouldn't be like, no, I want you for myself. He shouldn't make that decision for her because it's very controlling and weird. The trials were just so unnecessary and did nothing for the story other than make it longer. Feyre can also win immediately if she solves a very simple riddle that when I first read this book, I was in math class when I read that riddle and I was like, hey, I wonder if I can solve this. And I solved that thing in like 7 minutes while taking notes, and I don't think I'm a very good riddle person, so I think that Feyre's just stupid because she's been stupid this whole book. So, you know, and guess what the answer was, because I wanted to jump off a cliff when I heard the freaking answer, when I figured out the answer. It was love. She also never even tries to answer it. Like, she hears it for the first time and she's like, is it a disease? If she guesses right, then she'll immediately be freed and the curse will be broken and it's gonna be great. But if she doesn't succeed, then they're all dead. So she's kind of like, I think it might be a disease, like maybe, I don't know. Amarantha specified immediately, so I'm just wondering if I can solve this whilst taking math notes. Why is she writing this all on this one riddle? Like, what is the point? Amarantha is giving Feyre every single chance possible to escape, and Feyre's just like, I guess I'll just go to my cell. Tamlin, I love you. Maybe instead of just sitting in your cell being like, I'm so sad, Tamlin doesn't love me, or does he? Oh my gosh, I have a second trial soon. Oh my gosh, why is Rhysand keep dressing me up as his escort? Instead of thinking about that, maybe you could actually be solving a riddle that would save your life. Also, she doesn't solve the riddle until she's killed 2 people. And then she's like, I think I know the answer. Is it love? Is it love? For an all-powerful villain, Amarantha does not have a lot of control and doesn't really seem to know what's going on. She's been built up all this time as this like, wow, like we don't even know her name. She's like she's just she throughout like most of the book. And then we finally learn her name, and Alice is like, yeah, she's so powerful, and she took down all of the High Lords of Pyrrhian, or whatever the freaking name of the land is. And I'm like, okay, this kid must be pretty great then. And she's not. Spoiler alert, she's not. Then she's killed by Tamlin in literally 0.2 seconds. He ripped her throat out whilst in bear form, which he could already do. He could have done this all along. This was supposed to be the most climactic point of the book. Freaking Tamlin kills her in 0.2 seconds with powers he already had. It was not just the curse that was weird. but also the way Tamlin reacted to it. Like, the curse was ridiculously specific, and we know that because it was specifying, like, okay, so you know what you have to do? Are you ready? You have to find a girl who hates fairies, and she hates fairies so much that she has to kill a fairy out of spite, and then you have to bring her to your estate, and then you have to fall in love with her, and she has to fall in love with you, and she has to explicitly say, I love you, for the curse to be lifted. Tamlin's over here like, hold on, does anyone have a pen? And why did they send her home 3 days before the curse ended, and she was like this close to saying I love you? And the only reason she didn't say it was because she was like, I don't want to be a burden to Tamlin as he's dealing with this thing, and literally, had you given her one freaking day, she would have said it. Okay, but the way Tamlin reacts to this curse, he immediately goes home and sends a soldier out every day to be killed. He apparently has no problem with killing his soldiers and his friends. He's immediately just like, okay, who wants to go next? We're drawing sticks. Then he gets bothered by this when there's only a dozen of them left. He's like, maybe I shouldn't be doing this. And the book portrays it as we're supposed to be, oh yes, you're so amazing for like, oh my gosh, he stopped. Oh. Just congrats, Tamlin. Your morality finally got to you. Also, apparently he was bothered by older women. They would be like, oh sorry, that woman was older, like 40. Oh my god, so old. And it's like, y'all realize how old Tamlin is? That man is 500. Terrifying. Also, Rhysand and Lucien are the only actual characters. They're the only ones that have the base amount for any sort of character. Lucien actually had a history and a personality that was, like, explained. If you asked me what Lucien's personality was, I could, like, tell you. I could be like, okay, I know this one. If you asked me what Tamlin's was, I would be like, I don't know, he's problematic? Lucien wasn't problematic, but like at this point, if that's the standard, our bar is now on the ground. But you could also tell that he was actually like a good guy when he helped like Feyre underneath the mountain thing, and he does have like that sarcastic exterior, but it made him kind of funny sometimes. And I also appreciated how he was just as disgusted about the Feyre Tamlin thing as I was, so I was like, thank you. Rhysand was the only character with brain cells. He's the only character that knows what's going on. Everyone else was just kind of improvising. I know that he becomes a love interest in later books, which is so not okay on so many levels. He's very clearly a villain, but he's still an intriguing character that I enjoyed some of the time. I read the beginning of the next book a while ago, and I know that Rhysand's character takes like a complete 180, and suddenly he's all supportive and like, Feyre, I'm here for you. Oh my gosh, it's your choice. You can do whatever you want. You were not like that, because I was very uncomfortable in the part of A Court in Thorn and Roses where you drugged Feyre without her consent, and it was disgusting and made her do some pretty nasty things whilst drugged. Rhysand pretty much dressed her very scantily and painted her in whirls of like black paint or whatever, so he could see where people touched her, because he doesn't like people touching his belongings. So y'all telling me this man is a love interest and y'all are rooting for it? Oh no. But don't worry, because he only touches her on her waist. Like, wow. The standard. And the reason for this was shaky at best, and it was to make Tamlin more angry, and it's like, I'm pretty sure he's already mad enough. He's been cursed for 50 years, and now he's watching Feyre like run through these trials or whatever. I think he's pretty mad at this point. The main problem with their relationship is that the narrative only recognizes that Tamlin and Feyre's relationship is abusive until the second book. In this book, you're supposed to be like, wow, they're so amazing, and I love them, I ship them so much. Which I don't, because they suck, but the narrative wants you to. If, according to the narrative, Tamlin and Feyre are so great in the first book and awful in the next, what was the point of the first book? You just threw away the whole book of, albeit bad, relationship building. What was the point? With the writing, there was such an excessive use of dashes and ellipses, and whenever Sarah J. Maas is feeling too lazy to describe something, she just says Feyre can never paint it. And it's like, we get it. She's bad at painting. Let's move on. The first 3/4 of this book is just filler. It's just Feyre and Tamlin, and they're just chilling in the manor. Most of the time, Feyre's like, I miss my family. And then when Tamlin's like, you idiot, your vow has been fulfilled, she's like, oh, I guess I'll paint then. Why does she insist on focusing on details that literally don't matter to the plot at all? For example, I might have felt childish with it on, but in the months I've been here, my sharp bones and skeletal form had filled out. A woman's body. I ran my hands over the sweeping soft curves of my waist and hips. I never thought that I would feel anything but muscle and bone. Like, thank you so much. Thank you so much for letting us know that she got thick. The content, I swear. There were just so many info dumps in this too. Feyre is looking at this mural of the world, and she's like trying to piece it together with her half a brain cell, and she's like, I guess that looks like the night court, and that looks like the day court. I wonder what's going on. And we spend forever just in Feyre's mind as she's trying to figure out what this says. I don't know what this mural looks like, and I still have no idea what the history of Pirathon or whatever it is. Like, I don't know. Feyre comes back from the human world, and Alice gives us 9.5 pages of exposition, most of it unnecessary. And this is how the world building is conveyed to us all the time. And it's not fun. The world building, it works. Just this way that it's conveyed is so boring to read. Every action scene is just Feyre trying to make a decision while being as dramatic as possible, and it's killing me. That is all I have for you guys today. I hope you enjoyed it. Yeah, 1 out of 5 stars. Not really a fun time. Didn't love it, didn't love the characters, the plot, anything. Yeah, please take the survey in the description. It is a different one than the previous ones. Yeah, please take that. That would be really helpful to me. Yeah, that's all. All right. See you guys next week. Bye. What's the word for not superior?
Insuperior?
Insuperior. I swear to God. I swear to God.
Did you mention last time that I wasn't there because I hadn't read the book?
No, I don't think so.
Oh, they must have missed me.
I don't think they did.
Why wouldn't it be a wolf? Wolves are much more attractive. I mean, listen.
What? That's kind of what's...
Sorry.
We might have some idea. I swear to God, this is the reason my camera shakes. Like, okay.
We're gonna go at 7:30 tomorrow.
Bet.
Go. Let's go. Let's
What?
go. I said let's go.
Let's go.
I'm in the middle of filming.
Oh yeah.
Anyway.
Where'd you come from? Where did you go?
Where did you come from, Cotton Eye Joe? Anyways.